The IC Forum Switzerland offers a platform for critical dialogues and innovative solutions. Together, we want to address the challenges and explore concrete, different approaches and solutions. Therefore, government representatives and international organizations, business leaders, scientists and academics, and civil society, people working on the ground with affected populations, as well as young committed people, have worked together to exchange experiences, identify gaps, elaborate new forms of collaboration, work on concrete solutions, and cultivate innovative approaches using collective intelligence. The aim is to make a difference to empower young people through education worldwide. Have we made a difference together?
So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back after the working sessions. And that is exactly the question that has been asked in the video that we just saw. Are we making a difference? Are we empowering young people through education? Are we walking the talk? And what comes next? Well, we have the rapporteurs from the 4 working sessions, and they have the really difficult task of synthesizing and turning into headlines or highlights in 3 minutes what came out of their session, so that everybody knows what has been happening over the last hour. So let me start with Donika Dymowska, Chief Knowledge Officer at the Jacobs Foundation, which invests in learning potential of children. And Donika is going to give us feedback on working session 1, Together for Innovative Investment in Education. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay? Great. Hello, everyone. Good. This is a very difficult task in 3 minutes. It was an incredibly inspirational session. So trying to do my best, starting with what was new. And what we heard was a very exciting set of models for channeling more innovative financing into education. Models that are actually looking at how to blend financing, public and private financing, how to link financing to results, and how to leverage market forces to deploy financing towards education. So what was really interesting is to actually hear a new generation of opportunities that are being tried by both governments and the private sector to bring more financing to SDG 4. What was really inspirational actually was to see that we're starting to move past ideology and past simple narratives. We saw leadership on the part of governments and the private sector to be willing to try new things, to enter into new multi-stakeholder partnerships, to create new blended finance vehicles, to try and experiment with new ways of financing education. So that was something both new and inspirational. The leadership part is critical if we want to make innovative financing work. And finally, I was asked to say more about what was missing, and one of the very important threads across the conversation that we had was that one of the key things that we're still missing is more evidence as to what kind of innovative financing models are most effective. So we're still in the infancy stage of this endeavor. We're looking at both new research that needs to demonstrate what types of financing models are generating results and impact on learning outcomes, and how do those compare to traditional financing. So we were excited to hear that there will be more research done on this topic, and that many of us can benefit from that over the next few years to see how we can be becoming more evidence-based as to how we're deploying both philanthropy's financing from our point of view, but also how we're working with governments to ensure that SDG 4 receives more funding going forward. I hope I'm within my 3 minutes.
Absolutely, Donica. Thank you very much for so concisely explaining to us what was new and what was missing, and of course the importance of SDG 4 getting more funding. So now let's move over to Urs Grobiel, Executive Director of the Swiss Network for Educational Innovation. And for the highlights of working session 2, inclusivity at the heart of digitalization. What was new, what was missing? Urs, over to you.
Thank you very much, Claire. We had an exciting discussion, and as we discussed many topics, a very nice picture emerged, and that was the learner is always at the center. And around the learner we have different parts. We have parents who play a very important role, and they do need skills to accompany their children, not only the parents, but of course also the teachers and the students. And then we moved on to the importance of soft skills and socio-emotional learning, which is in itself very important, and even more in the interaction with the technology. It's important that we acquire these skills. And we moved on to technology itself and talked about that technology should be responsive to the learner, not a set tool, but something which helps to co-create and to develop ideas. Of course, we also touched critical issues like data privacy and digital divide, and there was one question about, well, do we all need now a video conference for the learners all over the world? And there was a very nice answer of Susan from the EdTech Hub saying we need a pathway of organic development. And I think for me this is the conclusion which we couldn't specify in the discussion, but we do need an organic pathway to learn how to apply these technologies so that the learner is really in the center. And then one last point, I put myself in the role of a decision maker, and I thought, whoa, with all these topics, what do I do with it? And I think as we move on this pathway of organic development, we need to define clear criteria where we put the focus, what we consider to be important, like data privacy, like interaction, many other things. It will be a pathway as well. I think that will be the next steps. Thank you, Claire.
Thank you, Urs. Yes, indeed. As soon as you talk about inclusivity, it is going to be very wide-ranging, and that discussion was wide-ranging and needs an organic pathway, as you rightly say. Now let's hear from Ingrid Portenkirchner, head of the Donor Committee for Dual Vocational Education and Training. Ingrid is going to report back on working session 3, future-orientated skills meet development.
Thank you very much. Yeah, the first message that I took away from this very inspiring session and the many experiences and insights that we had into different projects from Ukraine, Zimbabwe, and Bosnia-Herzegovina, and our panelist is the context matters. So there is not one labor market, and we have to see, okay, this labor market that we are dealing is, where is it it's embedded in a social and economic situation, very specific, and we do not need a very generic and general discussion about it, but we have to specify and to find the specifics. So it's about adaptability of the whole system. So what we need are strong partnerships. We had a strong advocacy as well for partnerships with the private sector, not only for funding and bridging to the labor market, but also for anticipation of skills. And this led to a very interesting discussion as well, that if the system itself works and partners work together, it's a continuous process. So predictability is very difficult, and sometimes it's not even about skills. So we should think in bigger systems, yeah, and maybe and focus on the problems that we want to tackle. We had a very interesting discussion about green skills, green jobs, and green skills is not green jobs, so enriching existing professions and occupations as well with those new skills like green marketing, and this led to the discussion of transversal skills as well, and that we also saw, okay, one is skills development, but we also need for employability environments that have career guidance, working with the parents' access to knowledge, to finance as well, creating opportunities. And
Ingrid, your last word?
yeah, my last word is I want to take up one of the top tips. So be open. What is the role of development actors? Be facilitators, maybe not in the driving seat, but bridging and bringing together the actors there. So learn to doubt, and learn to keep being critical. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much for your feedback on working session 3. So now I'd like to go to Mergim Jahu, Senior Advisor, International Relations at the Swiss Federal University for Vocational Education and Training. And Mergim was the rapporteur for session 4, which was Market-Orientated Skills for Competitiveness. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Claire. So it has been indeed a very interesting session that we had on session 4. It was addressing the role of the private sector in skills development. So we had an example from a SECO-funded project in Indonesia, which is called S4C, for Skills for Competitiveness, where we saw building, or the process of building, a dualized skills development system. So I find it very promising. I saw some very interesting examples and engagement from the private sector, but also from the government to facilitate that process, engaging companies, and to the next steps, perhaps also the professional association to a larger extent in the definition of the content, but also on the governance and the delivery of skills development programs. That means that in order to remain competitive, the companies are no longer just the consumer of education, but they are active part of its contribution, and they contribute to developing the skills that they would be needed in their sectors in the future. So this aspect of anticipating the skills needs, so that's the companies are in the best position to tell us what would be the development in their field that would lead to better competitiveness. But also what was also to a less extent addressed in the session was the contribution to innovation. So in Switzerland, we have done studies on to understand what are the contribution of skills development system to innovation. And we see the mix of profiles in the companies, both vocational and academic, thrive innovation. We discussed soft skills, or more transversal skills that can be taught at school, but also strengthened in the company. So this aspect of diversity of profile really helps what we call the knowledge spillover. So companies enjoy the best practices coming from academia, and at the same time, the school and polytechnics also enjoy the best practices from the companies. So my closing word would be public-private partnership take time. It needs steps forwards. There is a gradual movement of dualization, and perhaps at some point we would also realize how an important role the private sector can play in a skills development system.
Thank you very, very much indeed for underlining the importance of public-private partnerships there. I would like to thank our rapporteurs for their very concise and compelling, and I hope that you'll find some of those quotes on Twitter when you look at your Twitter feeds afterwards. So thank you very, very much. I will also leave the stage in that direction with you, because I'm now going to hand over to my fellow moderators, Lukina and Nora.
Thank you. Thank you so much. As you know, we have many people who are joining us online as well today, and so a lot has happened on Mentimeter. We have a short time only here to share a few of the voices and insights that came through, but if you're interested, the collective of all the feedbacks and questions that were asked will be available online after the conference. So we are going to focus for the first session. I hope you can see it up there too, perfect. So the question was, what are the key opportunities to achieve more sustainable financing for quality education? And as you can see, it's interesting that the distribution of the answers, so the people had the opportunity to say, what do I think is most important? And it is basically distributed across all the options. There is not one that stands out as the most important one. We can see, of course, that innovative financing instruments is there. So there is a wish to get creative, to get innovative, as we've also heard from the rapporteur on stage today.
And now I will present you the same results, but from session 2. This time the question was then for inclusiveness in digitalization. And again, here there's not a very specific, clear answer standing out. It's kind of like balance between the different answers. But the two main ones are open source technology and accessible technologies. And people also had the chance, you don't see it on here, but had also the chance to contribute with their own answers. And I just want to mention 2 of them that I found interesting. One of those answers was access for persons with disabilities, or recycling of e-waste, or stimulate rural rollout of connectivity. All of those results will also be online presented later. Moving on to session 3. Perfect, thank you. So the question 3 was focusing on opportunities again, but to build future-oriented skills for development. And here again, we have a fairly shared equal representation of all of the different answers, with the biggest one being continuous education and training, or mentorship and coaching. And if you remember before, we talked about soft skills and all of the different skills that young people will need for facing future challenges. So I think we can really take out of this that all that the learners are getting out of their studying environment are extremely relevant for development and those future skills oriented.
And last but not least, for session number 4, what are the key opportunities to build market-oriented skills to meet competitiveness? Here again, we see some of the main answers being around multidisciplinary collaboration, which is definitely a theme that runs out throughout the answers that have been provided online. We see business incubators, accelerators, entrepreneurship programs, so definitely a role of the private sector as a vehicle for transformation and for change, research and analysis, and peer networking. So perhaps to conclude, as we have already mentioned, there have been collected many more answers online, and you will be able to find those after the conference. There is definitely a theme overall here, from moving from a paradigm of education that is linear up to a certain age, segmented by topics, to something that is much more networked, much more collaborative, where we are never done learning.
Thank you very much. And And now, as we are approaching the last segment of this conference, I'd like to invite on stage our host of today, Federal Councillor Ignacio Cassis. The floor is yours. Bonjour, Adrien.
Toute personne a droit à l'éducation.
Everyone has the right to education.
L'éducation doit viser au plein épanouissement de la personnalité humaine et au renforcement du respect des droits de l'homme et des libertés fondamentales. Mesdames et messieurs,
Ladies and
chers
gentlemen,
invités,
dear guests,
vous avez
you will have
reconnu
recognized
derrière moi,
behind me
à côté de moi, l'article 26 de la Déclaration universelle des droits de l'homme de 1948. J'apprécie cet article, car il lie deux éléments essentiels à mes yeux. L'éducation et la liberté. Chaque individu, chaque enfant a droit à l'éducation afin de pouvoir choisir librement sa voie, afin de disposer des moyens nécessaires pour nourrir son potentiel. Je suis convaincu que le succès et la prospérité des nations, ici et ailleurs, dépendent de cette liberté fondamentale. Liberal nations have integrated this dynamic of knowledge. By focusing on education, they have enabled their citizens to be free and independent, to participate in an informed way in the welfare and advancement of society. The political system we have here in Switzerland has this model at its heart. It provides an education that shapes us into responsible citizens who get to have the final say. This is how our country works, and it works rather well. In terms of the rights to education, however, we still have some way to go. Mesdames et messieurs, ce mercredi partout en Suisse, quelques 900 000 filles et garçons se sont rendus dans leur classe d'école obligatoire. Ce même mercredi, dans le monde, 222 millions d'enfants touchés par des crises n'ont pas un accès régulier à l'éducation. Ce chiffre a même triplé ces 5 dernières années. Nous faisons face à une crise globale de l'éducation. Cette crise nous concerne évidemment tous, et plus particulièrement l'écosystème du développement et de la coopération. Sans éducation, mesdames et messieurs, il n'y a pas de développement. Without education, there can be no development. On the occasion of this second edition of the IC Forum, I am delighted to see so many of you here to discuss one of the development aid challenges of our century. As the name of the UN Emergency Fund for Education puts it so well, education cannot wait. I'm looking forward to welcoming guests from all over the world here tomorrow. Together with our friends from Education Cannot Wait, we will invest our efforts in this key sustainable development goal. A commitment to education is an investment. Education is one of the main drivers of prosperity. It is through this that fragile nations can rebuild and look forward to a better future. La Suisse, vous le savez, est un pays considéré prospère et attractif. Mais pourquoi investit-on dans ce petit pays sans matières premières et sans accès à la mer? Pourquoi investit-on dans un pays qui, au XIXe siècle, a été touché par des crises économiques et sociales, par la pauvreté et même par la faim? Un pays qui a vu nombre de ses citoyens contraints d'émigrer vers le Nouveau Monde. Pourquoi la Suisse est une des nations les plus innovantes au monde? Cette capacité d'innovation, nous la devons à la place que nous avons donnée à l'éducation dès la création de la Suisse moderne au XIXe siècle. L'attractivité d'un pays dépend en grande partie de la disponibilité et de la qualité de sa force de travail. Comme vous pourrez le découvrir ici à ma droite, ceux qui nous traitent de paradis fiscal ont largement tort. Si la Suisse est un paradis, c'est un paradis de l'éducation.
Then Switzerland need also be considered an educational paradise. Our universities, our dual education system, which we have heard so much about and discussed, combines basic and professional education and has become a highly recognized source of inspiration throughout the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, the state must be committed to ensuring the right to basic education. This commitment has shown that it is an effective way to achieving enlightenment. And as you will have noticed, the darkness is never far from our door. However, the search for solutions cannot be left to states and international organizations only. The private sector and public authorities are part of the mix. Everyone has a great interest in being able to rely on a well-trained workforce. Finding solutions to access to education requires academics, diplomats, financial specialists, NGOs, politicians, and philanthropists. And you are here today. This is the raison d'être of this forum. Thought and action, together different. Chers collègues, je suis convaincu que nous sommes capables de confronter nos disciplines, réunir nos méthodes, fusionner nos connaissances et anticiper les
fusion our knowledge and recognize future trends. Together, we have opened the debate to rethink education, to think of it out of the box. Together, we will ensure this and ensure progress on this topic throughout the world. And if we won't be able to do so at the first try, to quote Samuel Beckett, we have to try and try again.
Ever tried.
Ever
failed.
Tried.
No matter,
ever
try
failed.
again.
No matter,
fail again.
Try again. Fail again.
Better.
Fail better.
La tâche est immense.
The task
ne
is
baissons pas les
immense,
bras.
huge.
Il en va
But let's
de
continue.
notre futur.
Let's keep our
Merci
work
de votre
going
attention.
on. Let's work for a better future. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Federal Councillor, indeed, for those words that there can be no development without education, and education can't wait. And it's my real pleasure now to give the floor to Maki Katsuno Hayashikawa, Director of the Division for Education 2030 at UNESCO. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Claire. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, may I begin first by, on behalf of UNESCO, by expressing my sincere appreciation to and commend the Swiss Agency for Development Cooperation for organizing this innovative forum on education for future. The timing could not be better. In 2020, the Transformation Education Summit, together with 3 UNESCO World Conferences organized on early childhood care and education, higher education, adult learning, propelled education to the top of the political agenda. For the first time, countries, UN agencies, teachers, youth, civil society, the private sector, and other stakeholders came together to elevate action. They sent an urgent message. Going back to business as usual is not an option. UNESCO's flagship report, The Futures of Education, should guide us in rebuilding education systems that repair past injustices and transform our relationships with each other, with the past, and with technology. Research and innovation are a critical part of this. For this reason, UNESCO is leading efforts to move the dial on a new social contract for education. Our program is building on futures literacy and futures thinking. It uses approaches that are decolonizing, democratic, and facilitates exercise and promotion of human rights. It involves students, teachers, and parents. We are also reaching beyond the conventional, often too narrow in focus and reach, education community to involve social movements, young people, and others who too often are kept outside of the main discussions on education. Ladies and gentlemen, among the many competing priorities, I think there are three areas, and we also heard this, all of these this afternoon, that must be at the core of education dialogue today, and if we want a future. First, the gravest threat of our time is climate change. We all recall the chilling words of UN Secretary General at the end of the COP27 last year, when he described the climate crisis as a battle for our lives. Yet only about half of countries include climate change in their education frameworks, and only 23% of teachers feel ready to teach about it. To urgently scale up action and respond to the demands of young people, expressed in the Transforming Education Summit's Youth Declaration, UNESCO is now leading the Global Greening Education Partnership. It aims to green learning by including it in curricula, to green schools by transforming learning environments, to green the capacity of education systems and professionals, and to green communities through lifelong learning for climate-resilient societies. Second, we cannot achieve this without enough highly qualified and motivated teachers. This is why UNESCO and Teacher Task Force on Education are working together to advocate for teachers and to ensure that teaching profession attracts and retains the best candidates, including through professional development opportunities. In December this year, we will be jointly releasing the first Global Teacher Report, which will shed a spotlight on the global teacher shortage. Students deserve excellent teachers. And thirdly, they also need to be safe and healthy if they are to learn to their full capacity. UNESCO's Our Rights, Our Lives, Our Future, O3 in short, project, which has benefited important support from SDC, has supported over 30 million school children and young people across 33 countries in Africa to improve their sexual and reproductive health and prevent early and unintended pregnancy and gender-based violence. The initiative has recently been expanded to include an additional 289,000 higher education students in 6 countries in Africa. Its success demonstrates the demand for a truly comprehensive approach that tackles the barriers learners face in achieving their educational potentials. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we cannot drop the ball on transforming education for a common future. UNESCO looks forward to continuing to work with all of you to promote education solutions that live up to the promises we have made today. Thank you very much.
And thank you very much to our speaker there, UNESCO, of course, walking the talk. I would now like to hand over to my fellow moderator, Lukina, for the next session.
So we will now hear a video statement from Mikhailo Fedorov, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Digital Transformation of Ukraine. At the age of 32, he is an inspiring young leader. Due to the war, we received this video this morning, and we are very honored to have this message shared at the IC Forum.
Greetings everyone, thanks for inviting me to join and sorry for my remote participation. The full-scale war has been ongoing in Ukraine for almost a whole year. Ukrainians continue to work to open businesses, to support the military, and Ukrainian students bravely continue to study. We found ways to make the educational process simple, convenient, and as safe as possible. Of course, with the help of technologies. It all started with COVID pandemic. As in 2020, the initial need of digital education raised up. That's how we've launched an all-Ukrainian online school. It's quite a user-friendly tool so that children can easily switch to home learning. With the beginning of a full-scale invasion, this experience allowed us to adapt the educational process to the new military realities. The all-Ukrainian online school is sometimes the only opportunity to keep studying according to the state program. Also, to make sure children are able to study safely offline. Jointly with telecom companies, we started the project Wi-Fi in shelters. It's crucial that kids and students in kindergartens, schools, colleges and universities are able to continue the learning process even during air threat alerts. These are new realities for all of us. Let's not forget about the non-formal education, I mean trainings which allows adults to get a new profession in a couple of months. I believe this format of education is the most convenient and efficient one. With the start of the full-scale war, millions of Ukrainians became unemployed. In order to help people to get a new job and at the same time to support the constantly growing IT industry with new sources, we launched the IT Generation project. The courses are free and provided by private IT schools. The project is actually a part of IT educational reform and will bring thousands of new talents into IT. As of now, 2,200 Ukrainians get new professions thanks to IT Generation. But the demand for this project was huge, over 211,000 applications in 2 weeks. For sure, we will continue it further. Last but not least, regarding education, I have to mention DIA Digital Education, the platform for developing the digital literacy skills of Ukrainians. It's a kind of educational Netflix with over 90 educational mini-series. By inviting celebrities, we managed to reach older people who earlier had never been interested in technologies. And step by step, they become the active users of digital state. In 3 years, we've educated over 1.5 million people. This year, we will launch the mini-series for reskilling and upskilling at the DIA Digital Education. This will be an opportunity to learn practical jobs such as pastry cook, repairman, and even beauty master, to let people get new skills fast, so they can find a job. We are convinced the more educated people are, the more actively they use the digital state. Ukrainians are creative and talented nation, and our mission as a state is to bring new opportunities to unfold these talents.
Thank you very much. It was extremely important to listen to his message. When talking about education, but truly in all aspects of sustainable development, youth is a key stakeholder. This is why I'd like to welcome on stage Patricia Danzi, who will be in conversation with the next generation. Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. We have indeed 3 young people here with us that will share with us what they have taken away so far. And I invite on stage Abdullah from Syria, Charlotte from China and Canada, and you already know Mohammed, that we concluded we will need more Mohammeds in the world. So we have already 2 more very, very dedicated young people. I see that you all wear the same outfit, and you brought another one.
Thank you so much. This one is for you.
Okay.
Are we happy to share it from one
I take the challenge, and what we don't do enough, actually, we don't, as developers, as public servants, we don't put ourselves as much as we should in your skin. So I try. Thank you. So I feel younger. So maybe you will tell us a bit, how do you feel here? What have you learned or taken away so far? And please, be honest with us. You have people from the private sector, financial sector, NGOs, public. So you can be very frank with us. Maybe we start, ladies first.
Hello. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, Patricia, Madame Directrice, we're really honored to be standing here with you and wearing the same shirts. So my name is Charlotte Qing. I'm a Chinese-Canadian artist. I have been in Switzerland since 3 years ago, practicing my art. And as an artist, I would consider myself as an educator, because art is a language of emotions. And art is making us more sensitive, more sensible towards ecology, to the pain of others and countries around the world. So as an artist, my message and my mission is to bring awareness of water to the public eyes. Water is not just a resource or a commodity to be taken for granted. It actually has a history, comes along with the origin of humanity and all civilizations through our cultures and religions. So here, my message to you all is to take care of our water. But lastly, we are representing 1 million youth actions movement. So through this movement, we're connecting with global youth ambassadors. So I would pass the message to the next ones.
Thank you. Maybe just for the ones that don't follow the young people every day, the 1 Million Youth Challenge is an initiative that brings together young people from wherever they are in the world that want to do something differently and really do it. And this movement chose the 3 of them to represent them here. So maybe Abdullah, give us some feedback of what you have heard, and especially what will you bring back to Syria?
Okay, I want to thank you for this opportunity, especially Juan Mayak. As a Syrian, after 12 years old war and 5 years of sanctions, I could be here. It was tough. There, I'm a pharmacist. The pharmacy introduced me to a world where I can combine ingredients. But these ingredients are missing more and more in my country because of the sanctions. So even though it led to economical shortage. So you ask me what I will bring to my country. I will bring back the hope that all of the international community will help us to reclaim and recover our sweet Syria, to collaborate with us, to listen to us, to be sticking with us, to help us without any sanctions to reclaim what we were. So after this, I'm happy that you listen to the people like me as a youth, because we are the next builder for the next future, and then we have ideas and we need help and we can help, so please listen.
Thank you, Abdullah. Mohammed, Ghana is your home country. Now, you are here in Switzerland, you heard about the Swiss educational system and how it works and what it does to young people. What do you bring back to Ghana and what do you want us to hear from you?
Thank you very much. I'm really grateful to be part of this forum. Well, I believe in value of exchanging ideas and get inspired. And that's what I'm getting here, to be sincere. I've really listened to many young people here, organizations, businessmen, and politicians who talk a lot about education. And I was really inspired. And I would like to be taking that into consideration when I get back home. The knowledge that I acquire here, I'll put it attached to whatever I'm already having so that I can be able to share it to young people in my community, my region, and country as a whole. So that's what I get from this forum, and I'm really grateful for that. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll give you a chance to project yourself into the future, 10 years from now. What would you like to have achieved in the country with your fellow young people, then no longer so young? And what will have changed thanks to you?
First of all, I want a life where no boundaries for us in Syria. No boundaries about ChatGPT or any other website like Wenmayak or Hazo, where I want a proxy to get there, to register, to do anything to be here now. I want to be with my student in the Faculty of Pharmacy, Damascus University, where I am instructor and supervisor for the labs there, and I see how much they are great inventors and they have ideas as a youth. And if we give them the opportunity to have the best educational system and emergencies to get there with the investment in technology, they will give more to the world. And we know all we are trying to left our country, but no, we have the ability to be and to transport the technology for all of the world. So I'm seeking a world for us with no boundaries, for us to have the ability to be, to take the responsibility and to have the rights equal to everyone here in this room. So thank you.
Thank you. Charlotte, in 10 years' time from now, where are you? What have you changed? And where do we stand?
So from now, I'm in Geneva. So far, in the past 3 years, I've been working with the youth groups in the Graduate Institute called Water Initiative, but also Global Shapers, which is also a youth initiative from the World Economic Forum. Together, we have created a youth-led movement for citizen art. Similar to citizen science, we are a group of amateurs, water passionate, who form this community called Meeting of Waters. And the aim of this initiative is to bring emotions to the discourse of water and allow uncomfortable emotions to be expressed facing climate change, because we're losing our glaciers. We have damaged our oceans, which is our mother. And we are also creating more and more problems to our rivers. We're trying to heal, but at the same time, we cannot stop damaging it. So all of these decisions and actions have to come from the heart. And that's why we started this initiative, and we're continuously bringing this to the world. Today I'm able to speak about it in front of this audience, and next month we are trying to bring it to the UN Water Conference. So further and further, we're trying to make water become a subject that is so close to heart because we are water. Water is life. How can we not take care of water? Thank you.
Thank you. Ahmed, you know the question, so.
I'm coming from Ghana, as you already know, and what we are facing, our major challenges, climate change, moving with bushfires. Yes, and these bushfires tend to destroy a lot of hectares of farms every year, and that is a serious issue in Ghana, especially where I'm coming from in Ghana, the northern part of Ghana. There is never a year that will pass and there will not be a bushfires affecting farmers and their yields. It is really a major challenge. Though we are doing little on our part to see how we can help by creating awareness on bushfires with climate change. And I think it is changing the consequences of these bushfires as I speak. And also, water and sanitation, especially in schools, is a major issue as well. Water and sanitation. In most schools and in communities, they are lacking sustainable drinking water, clean water. They don't have access to it. So what I want now is, if I had the chance, I'll be building boreholes, rain harvesters in schools and in communities for a safe drinking water. That's what I need for now.
Thank you very much. We hear a lot about young people being very much concerned about the environment, climate, water. You mentioned it. Now, I give you a title. In 20 years from now, you're the Minister of Education in your country. What is the first action you would do? Syria.
In Syria, the first thing as a minister for the education is to get the right equipment for the Syrians, because I said we have a shortage, and well, that will make a boundaries and shortage in the process of education. I'm sorry, I can't forget about the victims of the last earthquake. I'm trying so hard to keep up with your question, but I want to tell them, to their souls, please rest in peace. We couldn't make our effort. We couldn't have the aid in the right time. So we are sorry, forgive us. We need the help. And I will, as a minister, I will write their name down, every one of them, to tell them how brave they was. Infant for 180 hours were alive with no feeding, milk, or any food, and he was rescued, and he is safe right now. So thank you.
Thank you. Charlotte, your actions as Minister of Education. 3, small.
This question at first brought me a lot of excitement because I was imagining, but then it also brought a lot of sadness and grief because I don't know, in 20 years, I will have children, and I don't know if they get to see what we see right now in Switzerland with the mountains and waters. So if I were the Minister of Education, I would like to build water temples around the world, at each river, that will take care of our water. And the children, women, will be the guardians of our water, and they will be given all they need to protect our ecology and our homes.
Thank you. Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you. Mohammed, yes. Minister of Education of Ghana.
Thank you. If I had a chance to be a Minister of Education in Ghana, I will make sure I work hard to increase the budget of educational fund so that a lot will be worked on concerning children education. I think, yes, concerning children education, and also concentrating more on technical and vocational education. If I had a chance to be a Minister of Education, that will be my role, and I will make sure that I do these two major issues I just mentioned. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, all of you. Give them a big hand to Abdullah, Charlotte, and Mohammed. The future is in your hands. You have to believe it. You can transform it. You will go back and make changes. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for sharing with so much passion and commitment about the different things that you care about and see develop, hopefully, in the future. As you might have gathered, February 2023 is an important month for international education. Not only do we have the IC Forum here focused on that topic today, but there will also be the Education Cannot Wait High-Level Financing Conference. It is co-hosted by Switzerland and Education Cannot Wait, and happening in close collaboration with Colombia, Germany, Norway, South Sudan, and Niger. It is hence my great pleasure to welcome to the stage Son Excellence le Ministre de l'Éducation nationale du Niger, Ibrahim Natatou.
Ibrahim Dinatou, His Excellency, the Educational Minister of Niger, as well as the Co-Director of Education Can't Wait, Mrs. Sheriff. What an honor to have you with us today, Your Excellency. We already heard a very inspiring message from South Sudan, and I know that Niger is also a country which places a great focus on education. It is a huge challenge to tackle education and access to education with the financial support of Switzerland and also Switzerland's expertise. A program was put in place, prototyped, and was now launched as a national initiative. So we're very much looking forward to learning more about this project. Your Excellency, the floor is yours. Thank you very much. Thank you, dear moderator. I'd like to commence by telling you a bit more about my country. We're in Eastern Africa, somewhere between North Africa, and we have a population of 25 million, and 75% of the population is younger than 25 years old, so they're very, very young. We have an educational system, and now I'd like to state a few figures. In 2022, we had over 4 million persons inscribed for national education, but we also had over 4 million who were not in school. So our educational system is characterized by 4 challenges. First challenge, access and equality. Second challenge is the quality of education. given the number of persons not enrolled in school, that's our third challenge, namely alphabetization and governments. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I am very honored to have been given the opportunity to speak to you here about a topic that is so very important, namely non-formal education, namely to also ensure the care of children not in school, to launch a cooperation program, a very successful one that has been in place for a long time between our two countries. In this particular case, in the case of alphabetization and non-formal cooperation, Switzerland has financed a very important program, an educational and alternative educational program called EEH. The main goal is to build an inclusive educational system for children between 9 and 14 years of age who have not had access to schooling. The first phase took place between 2015 and 2018, with very many having been given access to this alternative form of education, and 12,000 young girls and boys were able to be enrolled into school and prepared also with vocational training to become part of the workforce. The second phase between 2019 and 2022 has foreseen that 6,000 young people be enrolled into this program. There is the overall
général. L'intérêt du gouvernement pour ce programme a conduit les ministères de
It is in the best interest of the government with regard to these educational programs, and all in all, 20% of the overall budget was put to use in order to pay the educators and teachers, and also to cover the elementary needs of primary school. The pilot phase led to very many promising results, and therefore we put up alternative educational institutions which have proved to be very successful for children between 9 and 14 years of age who had not been enrolled into school, who did not have access to schooling, and who now can be slowly led towards an active professional life. And therefore, we institutionalized this. In the case of the Republic of Niger, since 2015, we can claim that there are 350 teachers who have contributed to this alternative educational offer with a very strong commitment of a national educational minister to meet all these educational goals, also including the new provinces of the Republic of Niger. I would like to call upon you to support us technically and financially, to accompany us with regard to this very sophisticated mandate to help children and young people, especially with regard to girls who should also be given access to schooling, in particular for them. Your Excellency, Mohamed Bazoum, the President of our Republic, and I'd like to quote him here, said the following: competition between nations is also competition between educational systems. And therefore, you need to compare what can be compared. I think that's the buzzword and the key to best describe the success of the Swiss educational system. Thank you very much.
Mrs. Sheriff, as we announced, there's an important conference coming up. Could you tell us a little bit more about the collaborative setting in which this is unfolding and what this conference will be all about?
Thank you very much. It's okay. Thank you very much. Avant, je vous remercie pour.
Thank you very much. for this partnership within the scope of this project in Niger, and thank you very much, Your Excellency, for this cooperation.
I love the French language, but I will do this in English. Education cannot wait. We are the United Nations Global Fund for Education Emergencies and Protracted Crisis, established at the World Humanitarian Summit in 2016. We are very grateful to Switzerland, the government of Switzerland, and the Federal Chancellor Cassis, who have been an extremely supportive partner of Education Cannot Wait in many different ways. I would like to mention establishing the Global Hub for Education in Emergencies together with Education Cannot Wait here in Geneva, which is the humanitarian capital of the United Nations and the world. And that's why it's so very important for Education Cannot Wait to have a big presence in Geneva. We are a fund, so we support United Nations reform to bring everyone to work together in one program in countries of conflict, of climate-induced disasters, and forced displacement, where we have refugees and internally displaced. Since 2017, we have mobilized for our trust fund about $1.3 billion and an additional 800 million through aligned or leveraged sources in countries like Niger, Democratic Republic of the Congo, South Sudan, across the Middle East, the Sahel, refugees from Venezuela, girls in Afghanistan, which is a very big priority for us. And we have one emergency window where we reached, during COVID-19, over 30 million children and youth, adolescents. And then we have a multi-year window to rebuild the whole system and ensure continuity and inclusiveness, where we provide a holistic quality education of empowering teachers, curriculum, water and sanitation, protection, infrastructure, mental health, psychosocial services, school feeding, and we have reached 7 million children and adolescents through that, and we have invested in over 40 crisis-affected countries. And just yesterday, we announced $7 million to support the efforts in Syria following the devastating earthquake that has taken its toll on a population, and a young population that for the past 12 years, those who are 12 years today, have never seen anything but conflict. And in conclusion, is that the second question? Let me, the takeaway from this very important conference hosted by Switzerland for tomorrow, we've had the Education Financing Conference, and we hope to see private sector partners there. But the conference today, hosted also by the government of Switzerland, and the takeaway from the International Cooperation Conference, it is the power of the private sector and the partnership with private sector to be able to contribute to humanity, contribute to education. We all know that if we empower the young population, those who are left furthest behind in conflict and crisis and disasters, if the private sector comes in with resources and partners with Education Cannot Wait through the government of Switzerland that brings this brilliance. And by the way, Switzerland is an excellent example of how to rebuild the education system. If we can do this together with private sector in those countries affected, we can change the world. We can invest in humanity, we can bring gender equality, we can end extreme poverty, and we can create peace and security. We need private sector. So this is my takeaway from this great conference today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for bridging two important events happening here in Geneva. Votre Excellence, je souhaiterais vous donner le dernier mot.
Your Excellency, you have the last word. We have an audience out here, and we also have an online audience. Do you have any message for everyone involved? What can we do to ensure future education for all? What's your message? The message that I would like to share with you is that this program, well, the one I described, is something that we work on together with the SDC. And we should all think of this and ensure that children who have not been able to be enrolled into school may benefit from the full potential of future education. I think every child has the right to the best possible education, and I think the best possible investments we could make is that we invest in the sustainable development of education and further vocational training. With education as a very high goal, we will be able to reinforce humankind, to be able to live in a harmonious society, living together in harmony with all other peoples, together with the state of nations, with everyone being able to participate and partake for the best of all humanity. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for these warm words. All the very best for the conference tomorrow. Thank you very much for your participation, attendance, and message here today. All the very best for you, for your country, and for your policies. Thank you. And it's time to wrap up. We're moving towards the end, but the end is no more than the beginning of everything that is to follow. We want to improve upon access to education for all.
Thank you very much. Thank you for everyone who has actually worked behind the scenes also to make this conference happen. I'm very glad that we had managed to convene here in Geneva. Geneva is the hub for education in emergencies, and I think we have shown throughout the day that we can make a difference if we put our minds together from the different sectors, and that we can make a difference not only with our cooperation programs but with our partners around the world. I hope that you bring back the inspiration and the motivation, because after a conference the work starts. It's not today that we have found the solutions. We have seen some innovative approaches throughout the different workshops that have always been very inspiring, but it takes the motivation and the engagement of every single one of us. So with this, I leave you to the next round of discussions tomorrow for the ones that go there, and for the ones that are with us tonight, there will be an apéro that I will let my colleagues explain where that is and where you can refresh yourself, get the energies for the next move. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for a very educational conference. I've certainly learned a lot. What was your key takeaway?
I found really inspiring to hear about the many collaborations that are unfolding across different regions, across different sectors, with young voices, with people who have lots of experience, and really bringing it all together to move forward towards our shared goals. What about you, Lukina? What was your key takeaway?
I've been really inspired by you, Charlotte. Thank you so much for your points, because on two levels, it reminded me that on the one side, we need to also think with our emotions. It cannot be only in the mind the whole time, else we are stuck in the same box as usual. And I think that's it. Mm-hmm. And I mean, everything else was also very interesting, but I think we really need now to move beyond and really make those connections also with the elements that are outside and that we need to take care of.
What about you, Claire?
That's interesting, because I was thinking of soft skills and how do we transfer them, and is there a role for digital tools, and where should we start that process, in which phase in the education system. So I thought that was really interesting. Yeah.
And somehow the work is only beginning. Right, Lukina?
So yeah, because tomorrow we have a session that is called Youth for Solutions that will be happening with young people, so including stakeholders that are directly concerned by the topic. That is extremely relevant. And if you are interested, the results will be also available online, as already shared before.
We are definitely looking forward to collaborating with all of you in the future towards our shared goals. We are glad that there is so much interest in this topic, that there are so many brilliant minds putting their minds and hearts in the service of this topic.
But I think that our very short-term and very achievable and possibly measurable objective should be to get a drink. And there is a cocktail reception, just as Patricia Danzi said. So please make your way there, and thank you very much for joining us, the online audience, and also those of you here with us in Geneva. Thank you.
Thanks to all. Thank you.
We hope to see you next year to get together to make a difference. Together Different. For the planet, for the people.